Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Today we got the official announcement from Nvidia for their 10 series of mobile graphics processors in the 1080, 1070, and 1060 mobile graphics chips. And it's pretty exciting to see these graphics chips being announced for the upcoming lineup of laptops from companies like Acer, Asus, MSI, Eurocom, you name it. We have a few designs here we're going to look at in just a minute, but what's really interesting about this lineup of GPUs, mobile laptops, is that they really seem to be just using the desktop variants of those chips with just a slightly lower clock speed on the majority of these, and on the 1070 it's actually using some more CUDA cores. So this is definitely a change of pace from previous lineups of mobile graphics chips, and a lot of that is probably due to the fact that they were able to bring it down to the 16 nanometer process, being a little bit more power efficient and not pushing out as much heat as you would have previously to get this type of level of performance. So with that in combination with, cooling laptops getting better and things, they're able to put these full-size desktop variants right into the laptops, which is really amazing. So let's go ahead and take a look at the specs on these mobile variants of the 1080, 1070, and 1060 versus the desktop, which are really just the same exact thing. Looking at the GTX 1080 first, we can see it's got the same exact CUDA core count at 2,560 with 160 TMUs and 64 ROPs. So everything there is completely identical. We don't have the GPU clock speed yet for the 1080 mobile, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that it's going to be cut down a little bit from its standard desktop of 1607 and the boost of 1733, given the fact that the other variants we're looking at here were cut down on the core clock as well. From there, the memory staying exactly the same at 10,000 megahertz, and it's still using 8 gigabytes of GDDR5X, so they didn't even skimp out on using that DDR5X memory, still using that here on the mobile chip with a 256-bit memory bus. So no questions asked. Like, if you are able to get a laptop that has a full-size 1080 in it like this, it's going to be an absolute monster. The only question for me there at that point would be how much is a CPU possibly going to hold it back, and I do hope that we see some desktop CPU variants also being implemented into the laptops. You remember just a couple years ago there were some of those Sager laptops that had the 4790K in there. Like, yeah, make some of those with like 6700Ks and 6600Ks with these desktop variants, and then we're talking about a serious mobile gaming solution and, well, editing and all workhorse, just a monster, really. Just really like a monster portable desktop at that point. Switching over now to the 1070 mobile, they have done something really interesting here, actually giving it a bump up in CUDA cores, going from 1920 to 2048 and increasing the TMUs from 120 to 128. Now, the core clock there still did come down a bit to 1443 from the original 1506, but that's still very close. And, laptop variants, you could still overclock them a little bit. Obviously, not as much usually as the desktop counterparts, because you have to worry about heat a lot more in such a small enclosure, but still, having more CUDA cores and only a little bit lower on the clock speed, 1070 mobiles should be a real freaking monster. And they're keeping the same, like I said, same memory clock there and the same 8 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, once again on the 1070 with the 256-bit bus. Now, coming over to the 1060, also, again, they've kept all the same specs as the desktop variant, just cutting down the core clock from 1506 down to 1405, but still 1,280 CUDA cores and the 8 gigahertz memory clock, 192-bit memory bus, and 6 gigabytes of DDR5 memory. So, of all of these, all these chips out there, obviously they're going to scale down and up in price based on which one you get, and, what you're able to get is really going to depend on your budget and which laptop you end up going with. So we have some of the variants here that we can go ahead and look at, and I'd like to get your guys' feedback down below on which one of these you like the best. I see they got the Asus up here, they've got MSI. This is the really big one with like the mechanical keyboard. This thing is just an absolute Goliath. Like, the back of this thing is just obscene. I couldn't imagine carrying that around anywhere. I don't know how that's a mobile anything, but to me it wouldn't be. It's just way too big. Even this one right here, which is, kind of typical of like the older like Asus designs, and we see them here in the MSI. The Acer Predator uses it also. Just really, really thick to have that exhaust out the back, and they're just extremely bulky. So it's not a design that I'm a big fan of, and that's continuing here through most of these. The one that I personally like the best is the MSI Stealth Pro, which is using the GTX 1060, which is more than enough for me. In a mobile gaming scenario, I'm not really looking to max everything out at 4K, and a 1060 can power pretty much everything at 1080p, which is what I would more than likely be gaming at, and that's perfectly fine on like a 15-inch or a 17-inch screen. But I like this one because it seems to be really thin, and no big exhaust vents out the back or anything like that. It looks really thin and hopefully pretty lightweight as well. If I was to pick any of the laptops on here, it'd be the Stealth Pro for me personally, because I don't need a 1080. The 1060 would be fine for my mobile needs, because I'd mostly be using this to like video edit and just game on the go. I'm going to be at PAX West in a couple of weeks, so if I were to have something like that, it would be awesome. We got the Acer Predator here. Doesn't really look like they've changed design from the previous generations. I have used the Acer Predator 15 with the 980M, and the thing is, it performs insane. It's like a no-holds-barred laptop with 32 gigabytes of RAM and M.2 SSD, NVMe. It's blazing fast, but it's also big and bulky, and if I was going somewhere where I needed to be mobile, I wouldn't want to carry around something that heavy. And the Clevo, I also think, has a pretty nice design also, but the back kind of big and bulky. Like as I'm trying to say here, consistently, this is my opinion, but if I'm getting a laptop to use on the go, I want something that's going to be relatively lightweight and slim, but it's not going to sacrifice on performance. So it seems like that's what the 10 series of the graphics processors is really doing here. So I'm looking forward to maybe getting to try out one of these laptops in the future here. MSI, if you got my number, give me a call. I like that Stealth Pro laptop. That thing is looking super sexy. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now, guys. Please let me know your thoughts on the 10 series down below in the comments. And actually, before we get out of here, there is one more little story, and I don't even know if I want to call it a story. I chose to even leave this out of the title because I didn't want anyone to be like, oh, you clickbaited us, bro, talking about Vega. All right, so one of the AMD executives over on Facebook posted this picture right here of this venue. It looks, I don't know, it's like a dilapidated warehouse. And then he said, like, afterwards, he was like, oh, don't tell anyone, this is the Vega launch venue. Shh. Smiley face. Is like, is he serious, or is he just like pulling someone's leg here? Because that does not look like a launch venue that I've ever seen before. And if they need to fix that up before Vega comes out, then we're going to be waiting for Vega for a very, very long time. But a lot of the press has jumped on this thinking that Vega may be announced as soon as October because of this picture. Personally, I'm a bit skeptical. You guys can let me know what you think down below. I'll leave a link to this story, and you could see that in the original Facebook post from the AMD executive, everything like that, and decipher whether or not you think he was being literal or just, pulling someone's leg over on Facebook, because that's what I think it is. So that's why I chose not to jump on this one and, have some big glamorous title like, oh my God, Vega's coming soon, clickbait, because everyone tells me that I just clickbait. I don't want to clickbait you. I'm not clickbaiting. So I didn't even put it in the title, so you're just watch baiting now. But you were already here anyway, so you only have yourselves to blame. All right, I'm going to really get out of here now because, yeah, I got no more to say, and I got to edit this video now. So I'll catch you next time. Ta-ra! That was a weird one. I'm just going to go kill myself now. Rest in peace, Harambe.